Oliver Pichon Luthier here, and this is part 3 of making the rosette. So what we've done now is that we've got the top here, and I've laid my template on top of the top, and I have drilled small little holes in my template that fit the my pencil, so I can put my pencil in there and make a little mark, and that tells me when I turn it over where the lines go to mark off where the braces go. And in this case right here, this is the center of the rosette right there. So I made a little mark there on this, and if we take this off now, we can see we've got a little mark, and I'm going to drill a 3/16 inch hole there, and then we will be ready to cut the channels for our rosette. So I'm just going to go over to the drill press here real quick and drill that hole. So we just have that little hole drilled right there, and we'll get our board here, and we'll set this on top of the pin. The pin goes into that little hole. Actually, I don't want the wooden pin. I have a wooden pin so I can try things, and then I've got my metal pin. I'm going to use the metal pin. It's a little on the snug side. I don't want to have problems. Let me make that hole just a little bit bigger here. So now we can set that on there, and then that's going to be the center of where the rosette goes. So once again, I have this here, which is the, let me see if I can get this so it shows it well here. Let's see, that's going to do it, I think. I'm not very good with cameras. My wife is much better. Anyway, so now we're going to cut this. So we want to be careful that we don't cut it too deep. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set this down so that it just touches the wood here. There, it's touching the wood, the bit is. And I tighten these little handles which lock that in place. Now I happen to know that my action gauge here, the card, it's a steel card, is exactly 1 millimeter thick. And that's how deep we want to make our channel, because the top is 2 millimeters, and this will just go halfway through the top. So I'm going to set this so that it goes down just, there it is. So this is really a clever design, because now that if I have a 1 millimeter of space there, then when I put this down, the bit only goes down 1 millimeter more, which is exactly what we want. So we'll push that down to there. And then I have the settings here, and I know that for the soundboard, okay, if I do the outside of the channel is going to be my C mark. So I'm going to move this over. I've kind of set this all up in advance so that I can, on every rosette that I make, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. So there's C right there. Okay, so that's going to be, see, check it again, that's the outside of the top channel. So that's going to be the outside of our channel right there. So we'll cut that first. cut the inside, and the inside mark is going to be D. I have these marked off so that, and then I have marks for cutting the sound hole, because we'll cut the sound hole with this same method. So there's D right there. That's the inside of the channel. I'm using a 3/32 inch bit on this. Having a foot switch for this really helps. Now we're going to just go right in between, because it didn't make the channel quite wide enough. This will be between C and D, right there. Okay, so that's the channel for the rosette. Now someone might say, well, why didn't you put tape? Well, the reason I didn't put tape is I'm not cutting the sound hole yet. I don't cut the sound hole until after I've got the rosette inlaid. And the reason for that is that when I have it in, I always have it so that the pieces that I put in are slightly proud, sticking up from the top, and I want to sand them off so that they're flat. But if this is cut out, it's real easy to kind of dive into the sound hole with your sandpaper when you're sanding, and that makes for an uneven edge there. Whereas if you leave this until after you sand it, you can get it so that it's all perfectly flat on the same plane. So now we'll take this over here where we've already cut the channel for not the channel, but we've already cut the ebony for the sound hole, and it's just sitting in this little guide here right now. And the pieces are all numbered, and I've sanded off the paper that was on the back from the gluing. I've also cut all these little pieces of abalone. This is Paua, New Zealand Paua abalone. I've cut these little pieces. They're 1/16 of an inch wide and 1/4 of an inch long. And so what we'll do is we're going to we want to have those in between these pieces. So we need to trim these pieces so that we can get the abalone in between. So the way I do that is I've got a little guide block set up here. Let me see if I can get the camera on it. Let's see, is that showing it? Yeah, it is. Okay, well, I just want to make sure. This problem, this camera is really hard to see what it's looking at sometimes. Okay, so here it is. And what I'm going to do is take this first piece of ebony out of there, and I push it up against my little block here. And get my pencil, which is over here. And I've got another little piece of, this is 1/16 inch wide material here. It's actually, and I push this up against there so that it's tight up against it. Hold that there against it, and then I make a mark, because that's how much I have to take off for the abalone to sit in between there. So I just want to take off, I don't know if the camera will show that little line there. I just want to take off that little bit right there. So I'm going to come over here to the sander, and I just sanded off that little bit. You can see the pencil line is just barely showing on there. And I'm going to set this first piece into here. And it fits nice and snug right in there. Okay. And then I'm going to take a little piece of abalone. That I have pre-cut here, these pieces. And I'll set it in there beside it, right there. So that'll be, it's right on the line, the midline. That one is where I want that first one. And then I'll set this next one here. Right there. And then we'll trim the second one the same way. Some come over here. I'll mark it. Actually, I think I'm going to turn this my little wooden block. I realized I had it in there backwards. I like it better when it's on this thinner side. It makes it a lot easier to hold on to. So it's up against there. Oops, I dropped that piece. Oh shit. Okay, gotta make sure that I have it right side up and not sideways, because sideways it's a different dimension. Mark that. That piece. You can see how that's going. And we're just going to continue this process all the way around until we get all the whole thing taken care of. I've got just a little bit of extra space on this outside, and I'm not worried about that right now, because after I get this all glued in and leveled off, I'm going to come in with a very small little bit and go around, which will trim everything perfectly smooth. And then I'm going to inlay a circle of maple around the inside and the outside of this. So anyway, I think you get the idea of how this is going. And there, I don't know, I'm trying to get it so you can really see it. And then I'll get this all done. It's going to take me a while to trim all these and get them all in there so they fit. But I just wanted you to show you how I do it. Once I have all these cut, then I'm going to glue them in, and I'll use fish glue to do that. I'll just glue them in with fish glue. And then once they're glued in, go across with a sanding block like this, which is a hardwood sand blocker. It doesn't have, it's not the rubber one that we give, and I can go over and make it so it's perfectly flat. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, subscribe to my channel and give it a like, and I'll see you next time.